Hi, I don't have an intro. So when I was rewatching some of my old videos / like some of my old art videos, I started talking a bit about like things I wish I would have like learned and like started doing back then. So I thought I would maybe like try to draw some old stuff while watching some old speed paints and like talk about like what I would do differently. Is this gonna be interesting? I don't know. Let's get started. I need a nap. Oh no! I look like a corpse. But a cute corpse. Oh my god, why am I dying? I mean, I know exactly why I'm dying. It's because my sleep schedule is broken. Okay, so I'm specifically going back and going to be redrawing stuff from like, that's like just in speed paints, because I can actually see the draft process and like what I was thinking a little going into it, as opposed to just like, if I go like very, very deep into my Tumblr and see all my old gross art. Oh, no. Oh, okay. So like with this. This is kind of stiff and a little bit gross. The anatomy is not great. I could very easily point out the flaws, but I'd like to see kind of where I went wrong and see like speed paints, if that makes sense. I don't know what was it with my old art, my very, very old art. Like a lot of the thumbnails I looked at in my old video, I mean like my last reacting to some of my old videos video, all the colors are either like painfully saturated or like gross and boring like this. I think I've definitely found like a good in-between today. I'm very happy about that. Okay, so we're gonna speed paint, old speed paint, old speed paint, old speed paint. I don't know, I've already redrawn this one, obviously. I just saw that. This is still not bad. It's got really good movement because it's taken... Actually, I'm going to talk about that a little. No, let's... I talked a little bit in my last video. Really, the only thing that I kind of hate about this is, I mean, like, I was still kind of figuring out how I want to do line art. The anatomy is obviously wonky, like those thighs are way too big, thick with 3 C's. The face is a little weird. I hadn't really figured out how I like doing noses or eyes yet. You know, stuff like that. But like, it's fluid. It's got like, it's dynamic. It's got like a nice movement to it because I'm taking like directly from reference from like a Ruby episode, because I was and still am, I guess, very into Ruby. And I wish I'd figured that out when I was 2016. What was this? I was 17. I wish I had figured that out when I was between the ages of like 14 and, I don't know, 18, 14 and 17. I wish I had learned or figured out how to like critique my own work and look at this and say, okay, I really like this. Why do I like this? That GIF looks really weird sped up. Hang on, did you see that? Or look at something and say, I don't like this. Why don't I like this? And like compare and contrast and like come to the conclusion that like, hey, since I'm not like super great at art, my art is better when I look at a reference of something and like draw directly inspired from that. That's why I still really like this piece today, despite, you know, anatomy and like face and stuff being wonky and like the lines being like really messy. It still is pleasing to look at. But yeah, I think another reason it turned out really nice was because I looked at this and I tried to copy it really roughly, and then I did like, I don't know if I did another draft or went straight to the line art. It looks like I went straight to the line art. But like, instead of drawing the lines exactly how I wanted and then doing like crisper lines, I like did a really messy like where I wanted things to go. And that's pretty much what I do today. I think it's a little bit neater just because, you know, I have more practice. But I think that's why I still really like this one. Did I do the same thing for this one? Oh, there's just a lot of references. I could have cut that out, but nope. Okay, where are the people? Give me... Did I catch my spelling mistake? Wow. GG, you smell good. Is that what that said? Oh, okay, so this isn't bad. Those are pretty rough sketches. I don't know. So maybe I was wrong. That whole spiel about... I don't know. I mean, I was 17. I was obviously experimenting with my art style a lot, which is good. I highly recommend that if you're an artist who's just starting out and you aren't super sure like how you want your art to look yet. Experiment so much. Just go ham. Go ham. Try different line arts. Try different coloring styles. Just go ham. Trying to figure out what you want. Oh, okay, cool, okay. I like how I did really rough, and then I kind of... Unless this is the final lines. Because it's blue, I'm assuming it's a draft, but it might just be blue so that I can see it against the yellow background. I'm not super sure. Yeah, it's pretty detailed with, like, the... Detailed for, you know... the time with like the scarf folds. I wanted to make Undyne buff so bad, but god, it just looks like gross baby arms. If there was another thing I could tell to my past self who was like still trying to figure all this out, use references. For the love of God, use references. You want to know how to make Undyne look really buff? Look at real muscles. You want to know how to make Papyrus' scarf look like an actual scarf? Look at a real cape scarf? Question? I don't know what it is. God, references are... Use references. Use references. All of my deity stuff that I draw for Sage that, like, he commissioned for me, more than half of those I drew from, like, references of myself. I, like, take pictures of myself in, like, different poses. Like, he writes down the pose that he wants, and I look at it and I say, okay. And then I, like, literally record myself, like, doing different poses with, like, my pretend cane, my cane that I use for drawing reference as a sword. Like, I take so many pictures of myself for drawing reference. God, if taking art in college has taught me anything, if all of the painful still lives I've had to draw have taught me anything, if you want to be a good artist, you have to learn to draw things from reference. Oh my gosh. I wish I could go back and tell myself. I wish I could go back and explain clipping layers. Oh my gosh, that's what I was doing. It was blue because it was a draft. I didn't know what clipping layers were. So if you don't know what clipping layers are, hang on. This changed my life when I learned about this. So let's do a big, obnoxious blue. I have my tablet unplugged. Okay, so, let's just draw a big, obnoxious eye. Yeah, woo! That's an eyeball, yeah! I am literally dying. Okay, so that's an eyeball. But oh no, I drew it in blue. If I were still 17, I would lower the opacity and change it to red by tracing over it. However, technology is a beautiful thing, and you don't have to do that. You see, there's this thing called a clipping layer, where you can color over in the colors that you want. Let's do like an obnoxious big old... I almost accidentally drew the bi flag. It's the bi flag. I want this eye to be bi. There's this thing. I don't know how Photoshop works. Don't ask me. It's probably somewhere. Clipping group. And now the eye is bi. Magic. It's kind of pretty now, though. I kind of want to save it. Should I save it? I'm gonna save it. Bye. Get it? Oh, this shading is not bad. This is kind of cute. Okay. God, oh my god, clipping group will come in so handy for this. You could also, hang on. Clipping group. I want it to be dark. But, hello? Okay, cool. Gonna lower the opacity. And then I'm going to erase the edges here. Wait a minute. Wait a fucking minute. Why did I just do this? Didn't I do this on this one? I literally could have just played this. I did regular shading because regular shading is fun, don't at me. And then I did it so quickly, I like... Well, okay, I guess there was a point to me doing this because in the Sidbeck speedpaint I did it quite quickly and you couldn't exactly see what I was doing unless you like slowed it down a lot. I don't know. Was this helpful at all? Probably not. Was it a good warm-up? Yeah, it was okay. So I guess I need to pick one of these to redraw now, huh? I think I'll do the Undine. I think that'll be a fun challenge. Because I'm looking at this. I'm sure I'll think of something once I start drawing, but I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, how am I going to make her like dynamic, or at least incorporate movement that's something other than her hair when she's just like standing. Okay, and now this is the part where I shut up and just draw, and then I'll speed it up later. Okay, so the first thing I usually do is start with the head. I don't know why that's just a base point for me, it just is. It used to kind of mess up like proportions a little bit, but you know, if I'm drawing on the computer, it's not really that big of a deal. I can just resize it. So I did take a reference photo for this, but I ended up not really using it that much. Like I said, when I started drawing, I kind of had an idea of where I wanted to go. Basically, what I did to make it look more dynamic is just make sure that she was very asymmetrical. That's another way I went wrong when I was younger, I think, was I was kind of obsessed with making my drawings very symmetrical, where really, especially in art, things that are symmetrical aren't really that interesting to look at. So I made sure to, you know, make her legs be going in different directions, you know, both her arms are doing different things. I wanted her left arm to be doing something rather than just dangling at her side, because I feel like it suits Undine's personality a bit more. I also changed the hair a little bit. In the old one, I noticed it looked like the hair was blowing as if it was like being blown by a big gust of wind. But since they're underground, I didn't really think about that before. How there's probably not a lot of wind down there, so I changed the hair to look like it's moving, as if like she just struck that pose to look over at like the marsh, and it's still moving from that. Another reason I really like making my own reference photos, like either just like making poses in the mirror or like making a video and like seeing them on my phone screen as I record, is I can kind of like play around with poses and see what like looks good and what doesn't look good before I even like put pen to paper, or to tablet in this case. So I can kind of play around with what I'm seeing in my head versus like what I'm seeing like actually in real life, and use that to make the drawing better. This is also quite fun for me because I've never really used Facecam while drawing before, so I never knew before any of like the weird faces I make while drawing. When I just like am really focused and forget like that I'm being recorded. I don't know, it's funny. I also wish I used references when I was younger for like mundane things, like flowers. Flowers in the old piece, yeah, those are obviously flowers, but I mean, they're not very interesting to look at. Whereas since then, I have actually looked up references of real flowers, and I kind of drew those based on that. My hair has also evolved from last time. I kind of draw with a more less is more kind of idea in mind. Like, the hair on the old one is covered in strands, and this one, it's like, you know, just enough so that you know that's hair and which way it's like going. And again, I'm using the clipping group and a dark layer over it. I'm erasing the very edges and blending them out, and then lowering the opacity of it. I also do some like actual regular base shading just to make like the creases in the clothing and the boots pop out. Also, now that I know how to draw muscles, it's quite fun to shade them. So I added some shading to her arms just to make the muscles pop a little bit more. And I think that's really all I have to say about this one. Quite happy with how this one turned out. Okay, so there's definitely an improvement. Did I put as much effort into it as I could have? No. I noticed that in the original, I tried to make the spear like shiny, kind of, or maybe that was just me messing around with the shading. Either way, I mean, it's adequate. Oh no! I take it back. It's not even filled in all the way. But yeah, there's really no shading on this thing other than the glowing, but oh well. I didn't actually think I'd get this far, so I'm not sure how to end the video. Stay spicy. What? I need a